sizable Afro-Ecuadorian population and more recent immigrants from Asia. A period of serious government spending, partly based on oil revenues in the 2010s, meanwhile, transformed infrastructure and education, with highland towns renowned for textiles, fishing villages thrumming with cumbia, rivers boasting South America's best rafting, and some stunningly situated jungle lodges. This compact, laid-back nation is one of South America's highlights. Over here we can see a saltwater iguana, which you can find only on the Galapagos. A little tram here, probably taking you up a steep hillside, and of course the gorgeous, gorgeous rainforest here. It says it's a cloud forest. The best time to visit is May to December on the mainland, or January to April for the Galapagos. Top things to see: the splendid colonial centers of Quito and Cuenca, UNESCO World Heritage Sites with foundations dating back to the 16th century, Ecuador's Amazon rainforest, vast region of unsurpassed biodiversity, the 5,897-meter-high volcan Cotopaxi, best seen from atop a horse or from the windows of a mountainside hacienda. Cloud forest reserves like those around Mindo or Parque Nacional Sumacocaderas, in which hundreds of bird species have been recorded. Top things to do: go wildlife watching in the Galapagos Islands and see giant tortoises, marine iguanas, and sea lions. I should say it's marine iguanas, not saltwater iguanas, but same difference. Hike the Andes amid the striking scenery of the Quilotoa Loop. Browse for ponchos, hammocks, and jewelry in Otavio, one of Latin America's largest craft markets. Take to the rails on the impressively revamped tram between Quito and the Andes and coastal Guayaquil. Getting under the skin. Read Century of the Death of the Rose by Jorge Carrera Andrade, profound verse from one of Latin America's most influential poets. Listen to La Máquina Camaleón, a Quito band who mix folk, pop, and psychedelia. Watch Tania Hermida's Que Tan Lejos, or How Much Further, a road movie about two young women on an unplanned journey of self-discovery in the highlands. Eat enconcado, which is Afro-Ecuadorian seafood stew cooked with coconut milk and spices. And drink canelazo, a warming drink of hot aguardiente, or sugarcane alcohol, served with cinnamon, sugar, and citrus. Celebrate this. Ecuador boasts the world's first 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. 12 sites were chosen in the initial round of nominations in 1978, and the Galapagos Islands and Quito were number 1 and number 2 in the prestigious list, which is now over 1,200 strong. Random fact: despite being only a little larger than the UK, Ecuador is home to some 300 mammal species and over 1,600 bird species, more than Europe and North America combined. Wow. Next is Egypt. Egypt. Historically, geographically, and culturally, Egypt is a colossus. is Siwa, very ancient city. The best time to visit is October to May to avoid the heat. Top things to see, of course, the pyramids of Giza, the last intact ancient wonder of the world. Ancient Egypt's heartland, Luxor, from the Valley of the Kings to the sublime Karnak Temple. Cairo, the glamorous mother of the world, with mosques, mausoleums, and the Egyptian Museum. The Abu Simbel Temple Complex, arguably the most beautiful landmark from ancient Egypt. And the White Desert's surreal rock formation south of the western oasis of Baharia. Top things to do. Watch the Nile's riverbanks in Aswan glow green and gold at sunset while on board a felucca, which is a traditional sailing boat. Dive into some of the world's richest aquatic spectacles in Ras Mohammed National Park. Stroll Alexandria's Corniche to soak up its fading 19th century grandeur, and chill, figuratively and literally, on the Hobbs Beach and in its Red Sea waters. Getting under the skin. Read Naguib Mahfouz's The Cairo Trilogy, Alaa Aswani's masterful The Yacubian Building, and Peter Hessler's The Buried Archaeology of the Egyptian Revolution. Listen to Koythum, Forever Egypt's Diva. Watch Oscar-nominated documentary The Square by Jahani Nujaim and the acclaimed 678 by Mohammed Diab, both windows into modern Egypt. I've seen The Square, it is great. Eat kushari, which is noodles, rice, black lentils, and dried onions served with a fiery tomato sauce. And drink karkadai, or hibiscus juice, mint tea, and ahwa, which is Arabic coffee. Celebrate this. Hassan Ali Ghazali, founder of the African Youth Bureau, was chosen as Person of the Year at the Young African Leader Summit 2019. And random fact, the average length of bandages used to wrap bodies in the mummification process was 1.6 kilometers. Next is El Salvador. El Salvador is strong. El Salvador, what am I saying? El Salvador is strong coffee for the senses. The smallest country in Central America has suffered high crime rates and corruption for many years, and most travelers have kept their distance. But there is a bright side to this resilient nation. The frank talk of Civil War survivors is juxtaposed with artists' carvings in the brightly painted towns of the Ruta de las Flores, or the Route of the Flowers, while recycled U.S. school buses done up as psychedelic chariots buzz with music and conversation right across the country. More than anywhere else in Central America, this is a chance to get off the beaten path and see the region for what it is, in all its grittiness, gaudiness, and sometimes just plain gorgeousness. And El Salvador has surprises stashed up its sleeves, countless volcanic mountains, swimming holes, exquisite handicrafts, and a wild Pacific coast. Here's some coffee beans. This is San Salvador, the capital city. And this is a volcanic crater lake here, all boiling hot. It says it's the nation's highest volcano. It's Santa Ana stratovolcano. The best time to visit is November to March, which is the dry season. Top things to see: hot springs, highland coffee farms, and artists' workshops on the Ruta de las Flores. The hours is quiet passage in Alegria, the country's mountaintop flower capital. Alegria, I'm not positive. Rugged ridges and mountain grandeur in Parque Nacional El Impossible. I said that like it's French. El Impossible. The bucolic highland town of San Ignacio, in the shadow of the nation's highest peak, and dream small corner of Central America, two of which, Itzaco and Santa Ana, can be climbed in a single day. Wow. And random fact, 1/3 of El Salvadorans live and work abroad, sending $5 billion home yearly in remittances to support their families. Next is England, a country I've been to. The British Empire spread English culture around the globe, but this is where it all started, from the cricket bats to the bowler hats. The largest of the four nations that make up the United Kingdom, England is famous for football and fine art, filmmakers and fashionistas, real ale and roast beef, live bands and dead playwrights, a nice cup of tea and the BBC, the Ministry of Sound, and the Ministry of Silly Walks, Queen, the Queen, and 5,000 years of history. And the jokes about dull, tasteless food, they're a thing of the past too, thanks to a wave of celebrated chefs and a population that's starting to care about what's on its plate. So here we have a little seafood check. She's got some crab there. We have, where's this? This is in London. It's Maltby Street. Some shops there in the alley. This must be the Lake Country. So pretty. And then this is in Yorkshire. A little quaint town. The best time to visit is May to September. Top things to see. In London, make time for St. Paul's, the Tate Modern, the British Museum, and a bar crawl through Shoreditch. A gig by the next big thing at the Lead Mill in Sheffield, or the Casimir in Liverpool. Giddy views over the Lake District from the top of Scafell Pike. A home game at Arsenal, Chelsea, or Manchester United. And the gorgeous cathedrals at York, Durham, and Lincoln. Top things to do. Relive Spinal Tap's finest hour at Stonehenge, England's most iconic prehistoric monument. This is Spinal Tap's one of my favorite movies. Lays away a sunny afternoon drinking bitter beer at an English country pub. Soak up ancient history in the Roman baths at Bath. Go crazy for curry in Birmingham's Balti Triangle. And slurp on a stick of seaside rock on Brighton Pier. Getting under the skin, what to read. It says too many options, but start with Austen for veiled satire, Dickens for historical context, and Jeremy Paxman's The English for a contemporary assessment. Listen to world-conquering rock and pop from the Beatles to the Arctic Monkeys, and David Bowie to Adele, classical from Elgar and Vaughan Williams. Watch The Madness of King George, directed by Nicholas Heidner, and This is England, directed by Shane Meadows, for contrasting explorations of English culture. Eat fish and chips, curry, a full English breakfast, yum yum, Sunday lunch with all the trimmings, and sticky toffee pudding. Drink, of course, tea, craft beer from a growing number of independent breweries. Celebrate this. Confounding the stereotype of the self-invested millionaire soccer star, footballer Marcus Rashford campaigned for free school meals for disadvantaged children in 2020, and then started a child reading initiative in 2021. Random fact. In a long list of inventions, one surprising English innovation is said to be sparkling wine, but don't tell the French. Of England. Next is Equatorial Guinea. A country of two worlds, Equatorial Guinea is divided not only by sea but also by oil. Large reserves of black gold were discovered beneath the ocean's floor off the coast of Bioko Island in the mid-1990s, and the subsequent industrial development forever changed the island's landscape, economy, and culture. Yet parts of the island remain little changed, with fishing villages clinging to the coast, painted-faced primates and birds lurking in rainforests, and sea turtles nesting on its volcanic black sand jungles, remote villages, and pristine white sand beaches are an authentic adventure into the Africa of old. Here we have a mandrill, very rare primate. This is the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception of the Virgin Mary. One of the mega structures that Equatorial Guinea's been trying to build recently, including an all-new capital city. And of course, here's the rainforest coast, right up against the ocean here. The best time to visit is December to February for Bioko Island, and May to September for Rio Muni. Top things to see: marine turtles climbing up the black sands at Eureka to lay their precious eggs. Haka, the lengthy sandbar that snakes into the dark depths of the Atlantic from the Corisco's palm-dotted shore. Hippos, Goliath frogs, and turtles at home in the wilds of Reserva Natural de Rio Campo. The tug of war between natural beauty and the oil industry off Bioco's coast, and Plaza de España and the Gothic Revival Cathedral in the heart of Malibu. Top things to do: push through undergrowth in Monte Allen National Park's jungle while on a quest to see gorillas, chimpanzees, and forest elephants. Step into a pirogue and explore the wild fringes of the Estuario del Muni near Gabon's frontier. Settle into the bleached sands of Isla Corisco's deserted beaches, and trek through the fern tree forests on the volcanic slopes near Mocha. Getting under the skin, read The Wankaku, Guns, Thugs, and Ruthless Determination to Create Mayhem in an Oil-Rich Corner of Africa by Adam Roberts. The title says it all. And By Night, The Mountain Burns by Juan Tomas Avila Laurel. Listen to the lyrics of Eyi Moandong and his chorus, accompanied by drums and the mfet, a cross between a zither and harp. The duo Hijas del Sol perform in both Bube and Spanish. Watch the first feature film made in the country, 2014's award-winning Where the Road Runs Out, about a scientist who decides to discover his roots in Equatorial Guinea. Eat seafood plucked from the ocean that very day, and drink osang, or local tea, or malamba, which is brewed from sugarcane. Celebrate this. Tutu Alicante, a human rights lawyer and activist who founded the NGO EG Justice. He works to build lasting democratic reforms in Equatorial Guinea and to highlight rampant corruption in the government. And random fact: since 2012, the government has been working to build the nation's new capital city, located in the interior of the Rio Muni mainland and originally known as Oyala. The capital is formerly called Ciudad de la Paz. Still under construction, by the way. Next we have Eritrea. Etched into the Horn of Africa, the tiny nation of Eritrea is one of the world's most secretive countries. The repressive political climate over the past decade has warmed a little, the only notes of thawing being the temporary opening of the border with longtime adversary Ethiopia in 2018, and the reintroduction of some tourism. A fraction of the country is accessible, with permits required to leave the capital. Yet Eritrea still offers travelers some serious rewards, as Mara's Art Deco architecture is dazzling, as are the numerous archaeological sites dotting the Abyssinian escarpments, peaks, and plateaus. Despite the 9 ethnic groups that make up the nation's diverse cultural fabric, all facing economic and political hardships, they are always welcoming and a highlight to all visitors. Eritrea used to be occupied by Italy, used to be an Italian colony, so there's a lot of gorgeous Art Deco Italian-style architecture in the capital, Asmara, like this movie theater. The beautiful Red Sea coastline here. And this incredible educates the wider public on the causes for which it fights. And random fact, Eritrea has no official language. A multilingual state, its constitution confirms that all languages are equal in the country. Next, we are going to Estonia. Estonia has long stood apart from its neighbors, with its unique language and culture having survived all that history has thrown at it, whether it be occupation by Sweden, the Nazis, or the Soviet Union. Now in its fourth decade of independence, this nation on the edge of the EU is at once fantastically modern and charmingly old-fashioned, soaking up Tallinn's long white nights and medieval history, or exploring the country's coastline are joys to be savored. Superb national parks get you back to nature, quaint villages evoke a sense of the past, and uplifting song festivals celebrate age-old traditions. So here you can see fantastic pictures of the old buildings of Tallinn, the capital city. We have some gorgeous nature here. This is in Laima National Park. And down here we have a university in Tartu. Looks like there's a festival happening here. The best time to visit is May to September. Top things to see: Tallinn's charming photographic medieval old town, the bucolic splendor of Laima National Park with its manor houses and slices of deserted coastline, live music at the hugely popular Midsummer Viljandi Folk Music Festival, the futuristic award-winning Kumu Art Museum in Tallinn's Equatorial Park. I do not know Estonian, so apologies for mispronunciations. Top things to do: island hop among the west coast with a visit to both Sarma and Yuma. Go bog shoe walking and canoeing in the wetlands of Suma National Park. Do a spot of cross-country skiing in the picturesque countryside around Otepää. Get sand in your shorts at Pärnu, the country's summertime mecca. Down a beer among students in the university town of Tartu. Getting under the skin, read The Tsar's Madman by Jan Kross, Estonia's most internationally acclaimed author, and Truth and Justice by Anton Hansen Tamasari, an insightful look at the country's 20th century move to independence. It's probably Tamasar. Apologize. Listen to the austere but stunning music of contemporary composer Arvo Pärt. Watch, oh goodness, okay, this word translates to Autumn Ball, based on a 1979 novel portraying 6 residents of a drab, high-rise apartment in Soviet-era Tallinn. Eat Verwurst or blood sausages if you're feeling bloodthirsty. Pork and potatoes, it's on every menu. Smoked fish and fresh summer berries. Drink Vanitallinn, rum-based and spiced syrupy liquor that is sweet and strong and best served in coffee or over ice with milk. Celebrate this. Even under foreign rule, Estonia's fiendishly difficult language, it's one of only 4 EU tongues not to have an Indo-European root, has kept the spirit of an independent nation alive. And random fact, such, its ceremonies have changed little in centuries past. No two are greater than the sacred Ikwala ceremony and the Umhlanga dance festival. Both provide an incredible chance to witness and to pay respect to Swazi culture. Other traditions are less obvious, but they all underline the palpable warmth and enduring nature of Swazis. Encountering Eswatini's mountainous landscape and varied wildlife is also unforgettable, whether on foot, horseback, bicycle, or 4WD. Or four-wheeler, I guess that's what that means. So this is the reed ceremony, which is a coming-of-age ceremony for women. I think this photograph's being quite careful because traditionally the women are topless in this ceremony, wearing traditional clothes. I watched this great video of one of Mswati's daughters, the princess, going through the ceremony. Very, very cool. There's a sweet elephant blocking the path of this photographer. And here we are building a house out of this straw, looks like. Wow. The best time to visit is March to November, and the top things to see is the annual Umhlanga, or reed dance, in Eswatini's royal heartland. Herds of zebra, wildebeest, and antelopes from the back of a horse, I guess, in Milwani Wildlife Sanctuary. Make sure I'm seeing that right. Traditional crafts within the Malkerns Valley. Preparations for the sacred Inkwala ceremony around the royal krasi, or enclosure, at Lubamba. Brilliant orange flame trees and lavender jacarandas dotting the woodlands of the Eswatini Valley. I'm like looking at everything, making sure I'm reading it right. Top things to do: walk in the footsteps of giants in Mkaya Game Reserve, perhaps the greatest place on the planet to witness rhinos, black and white, in the wild. Zipline, hike, or mountain bike through the rocky landscape of the Maladocha Nature Reserve. Shoot the rapids while whitewater rafting the Great Usutu River, or Lusutfu, I guess it can also be. Climb the massive granite dome of Sibebe Rock outside Mbabane for an endless vista, and come face to face with lions, elephants, and other iconic wildlife in Lane Royal National Park. I'm sure it's Lane. Getting under the skin. Read The Kingdom of Roses and Thorns by Deborah Liebenow, which follows 5 women facing challenges of modern life in Eswatini. Listen to the songs and traditional rhythms of Boloja's Swazi soul music, the hip-hop of KRTC. Watch the mix of performers at the annual Bushfire Festival with theater, music, poetry, and more. Eat shishwala, which is maize porridge, and drink chchwala, which is homebrewed beer, often served by the bucket. Celebrate this Balagatamsi, the leader of Lutsongo Regiment, a traditional troop of Eswatini women who is working for the empowerment of women in Eswatini. She's been participating in the United Nations UN 75 dialogues. And random fact, cows are revered in Eswatini, though they are traditionally only on the menu for men. It's believed that women will become too strong if they eat the meat, too vociferous if they eat the tongue, too smart if they eat the brains, and too likely to run away from their husbands if they eat the feet. Next we are going to Ethiopia. The spread of Ethiopia's journey from conflict zone to fascinating travel hub and back to conflict zone has caught many travelers off guard. Abiy peace deal with Eritrea in 2018 led to a Nobel Peace Prize, but renewed violence in the Tigray region and along the Sudanese and Somali borders has put many of the country's most fascinating sites out of reach. Nevertheless, Ethiopia's embarrassment of cultural riches still shines through. This is the only African state to successfully fight off European colonial invaders, and Ethiopia's patchwork of cultures and customs speaks of a history dating back more than 12,000 years. Entering this unique world with its own language, script, calendar, timekeeping, and wildlife is as exciting as it is enlightening. Here's an Ethiopian wolf, very rare creature. This is the Lal in the Danakil Depression. This place is basically the hottest place on Earth. It's so hot and sulfuric here that you just can't go here. You need to wear protective gear because the sulfur's too much. It'll start burning your skin. Yeah, it's intense. Be careful here. And yet people come here to mine salt. Isn't that incredible? And this is Gondar, one of the old royal castles in one of the old royal cities. It says this is the National Archive and Library building. Can you imagine? So incredible. The best time to visit is October to January when the watered highlands are blooming marvelous. Top things to see: the villages of the Mercy, Bana, and Karo people in the Omo Valley, an astounding cultural crossroads. The volcanic landscape of the Danakil Depression, one of the hottest and lowest places on Earth. The Ethiopian emperor's extraordinary castles in Gondar's royal enclosure, if it's safe. I don't think it currently is. A rare Ethiopian wolf darting across the Saneti Plateau in Bale Mountains National Park. Yeah, most of this area here is not terribly safe as of right now. Top things to do: explore fascinating museums and feast on one of Africa's richest cuisines in Addis Ababa. Wander the alleys of the ancient walled city of Harar in eastern Ethiopia. Island hop across Lake Tana to visit remote, centuries-old monastic churches, a safer alternative to the rock-cut churches of Lalibela and Tigray. Sadly, Lalibela is one of the most beautiful places in the world, but it's not safe to visit currently also. Getting under the skin, read Notes from the Hyena's Belly by Nega Mislekia, a coming-of-age story in the difficult decades surrounding the end of Haile Selassie's reign, and The Shadow King by Maza Mengistu, the incredible story of the Ethiopian women who went to war. Listen to The Very Best of the Ethiopics, a compilation of evocative Ethiopian jazz. Watch Different, about one girl's fight against abduction and forced marriage. Eat Injera, rubbery sponge-like flatbread of national importance, laden with berry spiced beef and gomen, which is minced spinach. Yum. Drink a superb coffee, the beans thought to have originated here. Celebrate this: Sarah Mohammed, woman, mother, former model, and fashion designer, who is inspiring other women entrepreneurs in her company Next Design. And random fact: when the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front tanks rolled into Addis Ababa in 1991, they were navigating with the map in Lonely Planet's Africa on a shoestring. The army that helped save Ethiopia from all of that chaos, they used a Lonely Planet guide to get there, which this book is a Lonely Planet book. I bet they're very proud of that fact. This is going to be the last country we'll look at. It is Fiji. Fiji is the embodiment of the South Pacific dream. Fall into a sun-induced coma on the beach, listen to palms rustling in the trade winds, and dive into electric blue seas. Inland, there's a wonderland of traditional villages where, with your sevu sevu or gift of kava and cries of bula, you'll be greeted warmly. city. It's called Lautoka. I've never heard of that city. I literally know Suva. The best time to visit is May to October when rainfall and humidity are lower. Top things to see. Navala, Fiji's most picturesque traditional village. Indo-Fijians walking across glowing coals at the South Indian Fire Walking Festival. Taveuni's lush tropical flora and beautifully weathered mountains. The immense wind-swept Sikatoka sand dunes on Viti Levu, and orchids, walking tracks and lily ponds at the Garden of the Sleeping Giant. Top things to do. Dive or snorkel with manta rays at Kadavu's Great Astrolabe Reef. Island hop through the Momanuka and Yasawa Islands. Bask on beaches, snorkel and lap up local culture. Swim through the ethereal Sawailau caves, made famous by brook shields in the Blue Lagoon. Birdwatch and trek through prehistoric rainforest to lofty Tevo Peak on Taveuni. Surf world-class breaks, Cloud Break, Wilkes Passage, and Namotu Lifts off the southern Mamanuca Islands. Getting under the skin, read Kava in the Blood by Peter Thompson, an autobiography of a white Fijian imprisoned during the 1987 coup. Or for something lighter, try 7-7, Ben Ryan's uplifting true tale of coaching the Fiji rugby team to Olympic glory. Listen to the harmonies of choral music at Sunday service, a major part of Fijian life. Watch, this translates to The Land Has Eyes, the tale of a girl's struggle with poverty and the strength she finds in her traditional mythology. Eat a Fijian pit-cooked lovo, or traditional feast, one day, and then Indian thali and roti the next, and Chinese specialties the day after. Drink a bowl of traditional yakona or kava to numb your mind and your lips. Kava, I couldn't even swallow it. It's so bitter, so strong. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even handle it. Even the smell was just so overwhelming. Kudos to anyone who could just drink kava. It was so, I couldn't handle it. Celebrate this. Rugby is a national obsession. 1 in every 10 Fijians is a registered player. Wow. The Fiji Sevens is the only team in the world to win the Olympics, Sevens Series, and World Cup. Wow. Random fact. Europeans adopted the name Fiji, which is actually the Tongan name of these islands. The inhabitants formerly called their home Fiti. It's true. Anyway, that is going to be it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this series,